Here with Coach Andy Pitt, Chesnee High School basketball coach, here to talk about the Lowe's Roundball Classic. Coach, second year of the Roundball Classic. What went in from last year to this year, to make you want to have the second tournament?
Well, it was extremely successful. First time around, you learn a lot of things, but I had a lot of good feedback from players and coaches, and looking forward to a second year. And we've had a nice backing by Lowe's to keep this thing going, and Daryl Hodges, who's regional manager of Lowe's, has really been behind us 100%, and that's really going to make this year's a really nice experience.
Coming into the second year, what things have you learned? What experiences are you going to change to make it a much better, couple of days for not only the teams but the fans coming to watch?
Well, we have some great sponsors in addition to Lowe's. We have a halftime shootout for the fans. We try to keep the music going to keep fans entertained during timeouts and halftime, and so there's got to have different promotions like that. And as far as the game day experience, I think we learned a lot over 3 days last year about just little things, getting people in the locker rooms, media availability, that type of thing. So there was a lot learned from it, and we're going to do a few special things for coaches and players that we're not going to quite give away yet. Be a nice little surprise for them when they come in here.
And during that span, the December 28th, 29th, and 30th, there are two other well-known tournaments in the area. What makes yours a little bit different, and what do you do to entice fans to come out and choose your tournament over the others?
Well, we feel like we have a good product. Several other tournaments in the area. One features a lot of nationally known teams, and we're not so much reaching out for nationally known teams as good teams from in our region, North Carolina, South Carolina, trying to get some good solid teams in here. And this year we're able to put a few of them up overnight, which helps bring in some of those better teams. So the competition should be really good. We have a handful of teams ranked preseason in their state, whether it be North Carolina or South Carolina. So we're looking to have a pretty good tournament this time.
All right, Coach, we kick off the Lowe's Roundball Classic with Game 1 at 10 a.m. on December 28th. The first game is a ladies' matchup, Gaffney versus Mid-Carolina. What can you tell us about that matchup?
First, Mid-Carolina, Coach Gary Wilbanks does a good job. He has a group of girls that plays really hard, led by Grayson Hester, who returns from last year at guard. She was all tournament last year. The Gaffney Lady Indians were the champions last year, and so coming back, Coach Susan Wade has a nice group led by Michaela Walker. Michaela is top 5 senior girl in 5A for this year for the South Carolina Basketball Coach Association. So looks to be a pretty good matchup there in the first round.
Game 2, our first boys matchup of the day, 11:30 a.m. sees Fort Mill versus Brooklyn Casey. In this matchup, what do you expect to see out of both teams?
Well, Fort Mill is extremely well coached. They do a good job of mixing their defenses and keeping you on your toes. Brooklyn Casey's going to come in ranked number 3 preseason in 3A, and they are extremely talented at the guard spot, led by Lloyd Hemming, who's a top 5 senior in 3A this year. And he's surrounded by a couple other 6'5" wings that they're going to be a really athletic team, and they're going to get after you, and Coach Wells does a good job with Brooklyn Casey.
Game 3 on day 1, another girls matchup, Fort Mill versus R.J. Reynolds. What are you looking forward to out of that matchup?
R.J. Reynolds, Coach Jonathan Gainey, has a really talented team that should challenge for a state championship in North Carolina. Tiara Wilson leads them. She's a signee at Appalachian State at guard, and is supposed to be really, really good. She was all district last year in North Carolina, and so she's expecting to have a good season. And they have some other nice players that are around Tiara there to form a good group. And Fort Mill, Coach Brett Childers has leading them probably one of the top post players that's underclassmen back, Amaya Lindsay, who in the championship game they lost to Gaffney last year here, and Amaya had 20 points and 14 rebounds and had at least 12 or 13 blocks. So she's definitely a talented player. It's going to be an interesting matchup.
Game 4, 2:30 p.m. matchup, East Rutherford versus Union County. What can we expect to see out of these two teams?
East Rutherford's going to be one of the top teams in North Carolina in 2A. They have Juwan Blanton is one of their big-time returning guys. He was actually MVP of last year's tournament for the boys' side. East Rutherford was the champions, beating Gaffney in the finals last year, and they have a lot back. Juwan can do a little bit of everything. He gets his teammates involved. He's really become a good shooter. He's drawing a lot of Division II interest. He's about a 5'11" guard. They also have an impact transfer. Josh Searcy has transferred in from RS Central and is a 6'5" wing that shoots the ball extremely well. And you throw in guys like Tyrese Carson and Stephen Archie, and East Rutherford is very, very talented. As far as Union County, they're led by Doug Brennan, who's 6'1" wing, and Doug does a little bit of everything for them. He's averaging right now 18 points a game for them. Rebounds the ball well, probably their best defender. So it should be a very good matchup of two athletic teams.
Game 5, 4 p.m. game, is the third girls matchup of the day. It's East Rutherford versus Chapman. What are you looking forward to in the first girls game featuring a Spartanburg County team?
Yeah, Coach Leslie Boyd has a nice group coming back. She has Stormy Hayes, who made all-tournament last year here at the Lowe's Roundball Classic. Stormy does a little bit of everything, rebounding, shooting, playing good defense. And they're matched up with East Rutherford. East Rutherford girls is the first time for them to come down to the Lowe's Classic, and they're led by Coach Larry Ross, and his daughter is a junior, Kendra Ross. She's getting Division I interest. She averaged a double-double last year, and East Rutherford looks to be one of the top 2A teams in Western North Carolina.
5:30 matchup is the third boys game of the day. You have Barea versus Summerville. Tell us a little bit about this matchup.
Well, Barea is preseason number 2 in 3A, and they have a really outstanding guard back from last year's team who's a junior, Raymond Williams. Raymond is a very good scorer. I think already this year he's been over 30 points a game 3 times. And they have a big guy inside, Jalen Duffin, who's about 6'6" and has a wide body and does a really good job of using that wide body. Summerville comes up. Dr. Greg Elliott brings his team up, and Jonathan Bennett is his top guard. Extremely quick and is good at getting guys involved. And Shaq Davis inside is going to be a guy to really keep your eye on. It's going to be a good matchup between Duffin and Davis there in this third game of the boys tournament.
Final girls game of the day, Game 7 at 7 p.m. Tip-off. The Chesnee girls versus Barea. What are you looking forward to in this matchup?
Barea has a returner that was all tournament last year, Sequoia Black. She's also top 5 senior in 3A this year from the Basketball Coach Association here in South Carolina. And again, another player that kind of does it all, scoring points, rebounding, getting her teammates involved. And with Chesnee, we have a Miracle Scott, who is the top returner for the Eagles. And it looks to be a good matchup.
All right, our final game of day 1, Game 8 at 8:30 p.m. sees a very interesting matchup between your Chesnee Eagles and Mid-Carolina. You and Coach DeWalt, lifelong friends. A rematch of a tough third-round game 2 seasons ago. What can you expect out of this game this year?
Coach DeWalt's group is always well coached and plays extremely hard. Keenan Boland's one of their top players, plays the wing for them. He's injured right now, but expects to be back by Christmas. Extremely good shooter. They also have some other guys, Wesley Hall and Ion Thompson, that are very athletic. They'll get after you, press you whenever possible. And he does a really good job of changing up his defenses, and this always an extremely well-coached group. As far as our guys, Nate Lamb, 6'6" junior, has the ability to shoot the 3, rebounds the ball extremely well, has become a good rebounder outside of his area. And Will Proctor is a guy that we've got back with us now, 6'2" guard, and he does a good job of scoring on the move and is able to knock down the open jumper. So it should be a pretty good matchup in that game.